What's going on YouTube? It is Texans Takeover, back in another video. In today's video, we are going to do some reacting in this one. There's been a lot of mock drafts posted around from, NFL faces, ESPN faces, all the big media outlets. They've been posting their mock draft 1.0s. Um, so, I thought it'd be a fun idea to go through every single one. This is a prediction for round 1 and 2 from Mr. Matt Miller here. It was posted on February 2nd, so 8 days ago, not too long ago. And we're just going to react to all the Texans picks. There's another 3 round mock draft in there. I bet another 1 round mock draft in there. A lot of stuff to go through to see what people see the Houston Texans doing in this upcoming draft. So I think um, it's a fun one, and we'll just scroll all the way down here to probably 28, unless they have us trading up. But as I see right now, I don't see anything. Um, I mean, you can see Iona go there. That's a big one. Caleb Banks go to the Chargers. That's another big one. Sadiq go there. Um, but here, yeah, we stick at 28. The Houston Texans are going with Blake Miller, offensive tackle out of Clemson. This is something I really like. I've preached about Blake Miller's game throughout the entire draft process. I really like him as a prospect. I think he's a top 25 guy in this class. Um, so to get him in at 28, I think would be great. Monor Freeling goes right there at 29. Anthony Hill in the first round in this one, actually, interestingly enough, and Malachi Fields there too. But here at 28, I guess there's no trades in this one. And Matt Miller says here, talking about Blake Miller, so Miller squared, I guess. That Miller probably isn't a first rounder in the 2025 draft, but in the 2026 class that lacks a high number of prospects with the first round grade, drafting a rock solid right tackle with a ton of experience, 54 starts and just 2 sacks, and two blown run blocks allowed last season seems like good value. Miller would slide into the starting lineup opposite Ariante Ursary. Um, Last year's second rounder to form a young bookend duo that can help protect CJ Stroud well enough to elevate his game as his rookie contract nears expiration. Considering the Texans finished 30th in pass block win rate, they could use the help. Miller received a lot of love from scouts I talked to at the Senior Bowl, something that could push him up boards. Yeah, I think he will end up in the first round. I think, the Caleb Lomu, Freeling, Miller, Ianachor territory is where the Texans should be looking at with pick 28. I do think we need a tackle. I think we should move Titus Howard to guard. That's my personal opinion. I think he shapes up better there. And then also on the cap hit, if you want to free up some cap, a guard's not expensive as a tackle, and it's not like Titus Howard's a top end guard. He's just a very solid one at that. So I think you could give him a 2 year, $24 million deal as an extension this year to bring down his cap hit, which gives us some cap flexibility in free agency if we want to go after a Linderbaum, a Kenneth Walker, or Brees Hall. I think he can do that. And that would be looking to play Titus Howard and tell him that he's ideally a left guard for us for the team, which means that we do have a vacancy at that right tackle position if we're not looking to bring back Trent Brown, which, I think the offensive line that we do have doesn't understand what Popovich wants now, especially after learning from Trent Brown. So I think Blake Miller could slot in perfectly, learn from Ariante Ursary, learn from even Titus Howard, who had to play tackle at some points last year. Just how to play right tackle for us, and I think he'll be very successful wherever he goes. I think he's just solid as a rock. Um, he's going to be good at anywhere he goes. I think one of the better players in this class. Again, a top 25 guy in my opinion. So I'd be ecstatic to see the Texans go with Blake Miller at 28, and I definitely think it's a good fit for how we like to play with our offense because he's good in the run block game, he's good in the pass block game. Whatever you want him to do, he's going to be able to do for you. So I just think that solidity at right tackle, especially on a rookie deal for 3 years, it's not going to be all too expensive. You're not paying either tackle um, a boatload of money. You're about to pay Will Anderson a good amount of money. Daniil Hunter has a good amount of money allocated towards him as well. But if you're able to get 2 young tackles on rookie deals, then you know that does give you a lot of cap flexibility moving forward. So I really like the pick here of Blake Miller at 28. As we scroll down to the second round, where we do have 2 picks in it, starting with 38 if we don't move out of it. But I don't. It doesn't seem like there's any trades here. Um, yeah, I don't think so, to be honest. So no trades here. In this one. And we go with Dylan Tinneman, safety out of Oregon. Tinneman was a quarterback of the Oregon secondary, showing quickness, great instincts, and playmaking. The Texans have one of the league's best defenses, and Tinneman would slide in quickly as a strong safety. Yep, think it's perfect. I really like the fit of Dylan Tinneman at Houston, or with Houston, excuse me. I've said it multiple times. I think he's a really good complement to Kalen Bullock. Really good in the run game. Is really well. suited in the pass game too. Can play make, can ball hawk. I think he's a really underrated ball hawk safety. To be honest, he can play the free if he really needs to, but I think he's bulky enough. I think he's sturdy enough to play a strong safety role opposite of Kalen Bullock on that too high. I think that those instincts, that playmaking allows him to fill in the run game a little bit better than Kalen Bullock does. So Tinneman's going to fly around the field for us if he does come in. A guy that I really like, another guy that I think is a top 30 player in this class, someone that I could see go in the first round to like a Minnesota or something like that. I think that could be a great fit for him. But I think they have Emmanuel McNeil Warren as the safety one in this class, besides Caleb Downs, obviously, and they do. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I really love Dylan Tinneman. I think he's a great player. I think he has an exceptional ceiling with how athletic he is at the position. So I would be ecstatic if the Texans were able to get him at 38. And I think if he's available there, I think you just pull the trigger. I know Caleb Downs, AJ Halsey's there too, who might be able to fall down to 59 or require a little bit of a trade up in the second round. But I think safety is a pretty big need. I think it's an underrated need. We have Jaden Reed there, or Jalen Reed there, excuse me, who's not a bad player, don't get me wrong, but I think he can definitely upgrade on it. And I think Dylan Tinneman would be perfect for that role. And then allow Jaden Reed to, or Jalen Reed, I don't know why I keep saying Jaden Reed, Jalen Reed to, be that complementary safety who can play the free or even the strong side, um, and be a rotation guy with Tinneman and Bullock, just in case one of them do get injured. But I think this is a great pick. I think really fits a need that we do have. So I would really like to see Tinneman as a Houston Texan. I've been mocking it forever. I really like the fit, um, and I think it's great that two guys that I really like are actually the two ones selected here, with our first round pick and our second round pick, because it kind of, I don't know. It feels like it gives me validity to what I'm seeing on film. Um, but when you move down, Peter Woods is all the way down at 41. If he's available at 38, you got to pull the trigger all day of the week. But um, not going to question it. We're just talking about the picks that we had. C.J. Allen at 46 too. I think that's something you could consider. Lee Hunter at 49. Ian Atcher at 50. You could consider too. Kristen Miller at 52. Um, Big Citrus at 54, Pregnon at 55. You could consider Halsey is there at 57, and we approach us at 59, who have us going with Jadarian Price in the second round. Woody Marsh was the fourth round revelation in last year's draft, but Nick Chubb is a free agent, and Joe Mixon's future is uncertain. Despite splitting carries with Jeremiah Love, Price has starting NFL traits and scored 11 touchdowns last season while averaging 6 yards per carry. I think he's probably RB2 in this class post as Basantis goes there at 64, another guy that I really like, and wouldn't mind the pick there at 59 because I think he could be even a top end in the second round guy. But Price, yep, I think he's clear RB2 in this class, to be honest. I think it's Jeremiah Love and then him with a considerable gap because obviously Jeremiah Love, Heisman favorite, or not Heisman favorite, but Heisman runner up at the running back position. Jadarian Price, a really good complimentary back to him throughout their college careers, and I think he did a really or he was really smart in staying at Notre Dame. And I think he can start in the NFL. I think he showed good enough tape, especially averaging 6.0 or 6 yards a carry. You don't have to say 6.0, but 6 yards a carry I think is an exceptional clip, especially in college football. Notre Dame picks their own schedule, but at the same time, they did play some very tough teams in there, like a USC, um, and a lot of others, Miami, all them. But yeah, Jadarian Price, a great back, I think would definitely come in and be a starter for us, or just be a great complimentary guy to Woody Marks. Split carries, something like that, and then maybe take the RB1 spot after that. Um, but yeah, I really like Jadarian Price as a runner, good in the gap scheme, good in the zone scheme. I think a little bit better in the gap scheme than the zone scheme, but still, he's an exceptional back, and I think he's going to be very productive wherever he goes. And if we're not able to address running back in free agency, then I would really like the idea of a Jadarian Price here at 59. Um, so yeah, I think that um, yeah, that does go through the entire first mock draft from Matt Miller, and I will see y'all with the second one. This is Bucky Brooks's mock draft from January 28th. And this is only a one round mock draft, so we will just go all the way down. If it's a 3 round mock draft, a 2 round mock draft, then it would be right here available to click. But we'll just go down and see what Mr. Bucky Brooks has for the Texans. Kenyon Sadiq all the way up at 11. That's an interesting one. Sonny Styles drops to 12. Ruben Bain drops all the way to 14. But we're only here for one team. Peter Woods all the way up at 19. And Caden McDonald at 25. That's an interesting one. 27, the 49ers go with Marar Freeling, and at 28, the Houston Texans go with Mr. Caleb Banks. The Texans could lean into a strength on strength philosophy by adding another building block to their championship caliber defense. Banks' superior size, strength, and disruptive potential would enhance a front that features a pair of destructive bookends in Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. Yeah, I mean, Caleb Banks would be perfect in terms of what this defense needs. You know, just really good 6'6", 330 would be an interior force for this defense that needs an interior force, in my opinion. He can get to the quarterback. He can stop the run at a high rate. The only concern is the pad level, but I definitely think he's a first round talent. And I'd be very pleased to see him come to Houston. If he falls to 28, I think you could pull the trigger there and then go with an AI natural. Or in this case, they don't have Blake Miller in the first round, so you could go with a Blake Miller at 38 potentially, or even move up to like a 33. If you see that one of those tackles did not go in the first round, then you could always trade up, go with that, and solidify your offensive line and defensive line with your first two picks. And I think Caleb Banks is one of the best interior defensive linemen in this class, if not the best. I think it's him, Peter Woods, and Lee Hunter up there in terms of the best. And I'd be ecstatic if we went with Caleb Banks because I think he's an exciting player. Um, very powerful hands. Had an incredible Senior Bowl. The tape is there for you to go watch of the Senior Bowl if you do want to go watch Caleb Banks. Even Florida, he only played 3 games, I think, this year, but you can see times in the past where he was just exceptional for them. Um, and I think came back to Florida, chose to come back instead of declaring for the draft, or I think he could have been a second round guy, maybe even a first round guy. But I think the Texans would definitely enhance their defensive line with adding Caleb Banks, just a dominant guy on the interior that can play 3 downs for you if you really want him to, um, and obviously be a big piece on that rotation that the defense loves to do. I think D'Amico would love working with a guy like Caleb Banks who can play over the center, he can play over the guards, he can play in the A gap, B gap, whatever you want him to do, he'll be able to do for you. Um, so yeah, I really like that fit there with the Texans. So yeah, quick one, only one round, and I will see you all at the next mock draft after this one from Bucky Brooks. All right, we're here with a 3 round mock draft from Chad Reuter, a draft analyst, posted yesterday actually. So we will see what he has the Houston Texans doing. You can see Mendoza, Reese, Maui Noah. Maui Noah is actually all the way up at 3 rather than Spencer Fano, who Caden Proctor goes above Fano all the way down at 13. I think that would be great. Lee Hunter all the way up at 15. That's an interesting one. Obviously a fit with the Texans there just because of our need. And this one we trade up. Unless, okay, yeah, we trade up with the Chargers to go with a guy that I've already talked about in Blake Miller. Um, Texans send 2 fourth-round picks to the Chargers, who currently just have 2 day 3 selections in order to solidify their right tackle spot. Miller's steadiness on the edge makes him the best senior tackle in this draft class. I mean, I agree. I really do agree. I think if you're trading up here, the options that I see there are not really as intriguing as you'd expect. So I think you are kind of just trading up to ensure that you get one of your guys because Ione goes there at 17. Other tackles, Fano and Maui Noah and Proctor even go above that. So I think you're trying to solidify your offensive tackle position by going with Blake Miller here at 22. Trading up with the Chargers to do so, trading 106 and 128, I guess, in this one to um, get your guy at right tackle. I've talked about Blake Miller in this video already. I really like the player that he is. Again, steadiness, I think, is a great word to explain what Blake Miller is. He's just going to be consistent for you. Consistent 7 out of 10 every week. And I think the Texans can use that stability on the offensive line a lot. So I really like this pick here at 22, especially if you trade up. And I didn't see Caleb Banks go in the first round, so maybe that is a second round pick for the Texans. We can see as we go to round 2 there. And Peter Woods goes at 33, Zachariah Branch at 34, Cooper 35, Neal 36, Freeling 37, and do we get Caleb Banks at 38? No, we do not. We get Emmanuel Pregnon. Um, no explanation in this one, but Emmanuel Pregnon had a really good senior year, or redshirt senior year, I think, at Oregon. One of the best offensive linemen in college football. I think definitely enhanced his draft stock. I don't know by how much. I know some people really like Pregnon's game. I'm 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 torn. Um, you know, had a really good redshirt senior year, but up to that point, there was not much to really talk about with Emmanuel Pregnon. He was going to be probably a 5th round, 6th round guy. but now he definitely boosted his draft stock. I think having him around the 50s is very fair. But a really good player, don't get me wrong, I think would definitely shore up that Texans offensive line. Him and Blake Miller would be great. And if you lose Ed Ingram, then you're able to get Pregnon, you're able to get Miller, then your offensive line is as good as new, especially if you're able to get Cade Mays or someone like that in free agency, then it'd be Ursery, Howard, um, Mays, Pregnon, Miller, or, you know, Ursery, Pregnon, Mays, Howard, Miller, something like that, some combination along that line. And I really like Pregnon's game. I'm just torn. I don't think I'd select him this high. I think if he's there at 59, then go ahead and select him. But at 38, I'm really torn. I know some people really like him. I have people talking about him pretty much every single mock draft that I do, just because I really love the prospect that he is. But I don't know. One year prediction on the offensive line doesn't really show me too much promise that I want to select him all the way up at 38. I did not see Caleb Banks in round one, so I think if he's there at 38, that's definitely something I'd want to do, unless I just completely missed him, which I don't think I did because Lee Hunter surprised me, unless he's down here, and I just completely missed him. And no, I did not. So Caleb Banks is available somewhere. Where does he go? We don't know. Igbenos and Mesidor, Young. Banks is probably somewhere soon. Tinneman all the way down there at 43. Caleb Banks goes to the Colts. I'd pick him at 38 in a heartbeat, if he even falls all the way down there. But this is just the Texans are scrolling down all the way to 59, and we go with Jadarian Price here. I just talked about Jadarian Price too. I think would be a great fit to be a complimentary back to Woody Marks, or even start alongside or split carries alongside him, and then ultimately get that running back one role. Obviously, these mock drafts are going before free agency happens, so they're very what teams do in the draft is very dependent on what they do in free agency sometimes. Like if the Texans invest 10 million a year on Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker or something like that, maybe even more, um, then they're likely not going to go out and get a running back with pick 59 rather than fill a need that they do have. Maybe an Eli Stowers goes there, maybe someone in the third round does go there, but I really like Jadarian Price, and if we do not address running back in free agency, then that's definitely the guy that I want other than Jeremiah Love. But I mean, Jennings Dunker could be one. But here we go with Jarrell Jackson Jr. at 69. I forgot we had 69 and not one down the board. Um, D tackle out of Florida State. I really like that pick. Talking about 59, sorry. AJ Halsey's there. Um, Jake Golday's there. Connor Lew is there. Um, there's a lot of players available that you could argue for at 59 if the Texans do end up going with a running back. But in this case, I would really like that pick. But we go back all the way up to 69 with Jarrell Jackson Jr. Really good player for Florida State. Really exciting ceiling. In my opinion, there is a low. I don't know about a low floor, but not the highest floor. Or yeah, highest floor. Excuse me. Um, but I think he'll be a good player in the NFL. S- Similar to Caleb Banks, in my opinion. Obviously, a little bit worse of a prospect to not be going in the first round, but similar to Caleb Banks in terms of the ceiling that he can have, the height, weight, powerful hands, all that stuff. Good in the run game, good in the pass game too. I think he could work a little bit in the pass game, but really good run defender, and a really high ceiling at that D tackle position. So if the Texans do invest in the defensive line later in the draft, then Darrell Jackson Jr. is definitely a guy that I'd want to look at. Him, Big Citrus are the two guys that I think in the third round would be ideal picks for me if we do not address the defensive line early on in the draft. So I really like that 3 round mock draft. Miller, Pregnon, Price, and Jackson Jr. to the Texans. I would take that all day of the week. I'd be ecstatic if we did pull off that draft. So there's that. But on to the next mock draft. All right, this one we got Cynthia Frelund, analytics expert. So this is going to be very analytical, grades, stuff like that, best fits. That's what this one's going to go off of, like Jamal McCoy at 5, or Mansour Lane at 8. Um, Mamino at 9. This is very analytical. So we'll see what the analytics say the Houston Texans should go with. And we do not trade up. It seems like there's no trades in this one. Like Neil Warren all the way down at 25, but that could be interesting. But here at 28, the Houston Texans go with Blake Miller. It seems like um, everyone seems to have the Texans going with Blake Miller. Um, and the Seahawks go with Pregnon in the first round. Sorry. Um, My model really likes Miller, who projects as a right tackle at the next level. The math favored him even more than Caleb Lohman when evaluating through a position agnostic lens. His waistbender projections are second lowest in the class among both tackles and guards. Basically, just saying he's very agile, able to have or maintain a very good base. And the analytics really like Blake Miller, and all the draft experts seem to like Blake Miller to the Texans at 28, or even trading up to 22 to select him. So it seems like that seems to be a consistent trend. I don't know if they got a leak from the Texans front office or something like that that they really like Blake Miller, are really interested in Blake Miller, but it seems to be a very consistent trend where the Texans are going with Blake Miller. The only other time it has been Caleb Banks. But again, I would really like that pick. So another easy one, just because it's a repeat guy that we've seen 3 or 4 times, I think, in this at this point. But I guess you can come with me as I go look for another mock draft. We looked at Daniel Jeremiah's. We looked through Bucky Brooks. We can go through Greg Zerline's, I guess, or Lance Zerline. Sorry, Greg Zerline is a kicker. Um, and we'll just scroll. Did we start with this one? Did we? Caleb Banks at 25, McNeil Warren at 26, Sadiq at 20. No, we did not. Katie McDonald is our pick here at 28. A different one this time. I'm glad to see. Katie McDonald, he says Houston needs help on the offensive line, but the best available prospect in the scenario could be a defensive lineman. McDonald is an ascending talent with the swarm mentality D'Amico Ryans looks for. Another guy with the high ceiling at the D tackle position, especially as a run defender. I think he's going to be a great run defender as soon as he enters the league. And in this case, Blake Miller did not get selected in the first round, so maybe he's available at 38 for the Texans to go out and select. But yeah, Caden McDonald's great. He does address that we do have an offensive line need, but maybe that can be addressed in the later rounds with Ian Atcher not going here, with Blake Miller not going here. Um, and McDonald, really good run defender, really high ceiling with as a run defender. Probably needs some work in the pass game, but I definitely think a refined talent that's gonna just continue to get better. And especially playing alongside Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson, that's definitely going to enhance his ceiling. Um, but yeah, really good player, really good as a run defender, which the Texans could be looking after. So I would really like this pick here at 28, as I think there's probably only one more that we need to look at, or we probably went through all of them. We did go through Eric Edholms. I think this was the Blake Miller one at 28. Oh no, this is Caden Proctor. Sorry, I missed this one. Um, Bama's left tackle is a complex evaluation and didn't have a first round type of season in 2025, but he's a gifted mauler who could find a better home inside. The Texans still must upgrade the offensive line or offensive front, and might be the perfect team to gamble on his talent. Eh, I'm not big on Caden Proctor. Y'all know this. Some people are. Some people really are. Just because he's 6'7", 330 or 366, 376, something like that. Um, just a really big dude that's going to be great. Um, Probably as a guard in the NFL. I think he'll be very decent. But he's a great athlete for his size, but you'd like him to cut down some weight. And considering the options that are available, like a Monroe Freeling, or someone like that, I'd rather just go with them and stick them at tackle, or um, something like that. But I don't really like Kenyon Proctor as a prospect, to be honest. I think there's potential that he's great. That's why I use the word great, because he's very talented. But yeah, I just don't like what I see on tape with Caden Proctor. But if you take a shot, you take a shot. I don't mind it. You just got to make sure you develop him correctly. As that is going to wrap this one up. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe. Pretty fun one. I just enjoy going through what people see us doing. We had 4 Blake Millers, 1 Caleb Banks, 1 Caden Proctor, and 1 Caden McDonald. So keep your tallies out if that's what you want to do. Um, or 3 Blake Millers, excuse me. But yeah, keep your tallies out. See if any of them are correct. But yeah, if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe. And as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Peace.